teacher told me that later that night I had to come to the school at the evening. And I asked her what's going to happen. And she said, you'll find out. But I'm going to die now. They're going to kill me when I get back because I've done the worst thing you should ever do. I was born on a farm in South Africa, and from a very early age, we had to start working a lot. There was a community with about 100 people. As children, we had to work a lot, where every day I was picking coffee, picking fruit, and if you weren't behaving well, then you were punished with a hiding where you get hit. So it was a very violent punishment. I'm the oldest. He's 1 year younger than me. From as early as I can remember, there was a lot of fear because me and my brother, we were born in this place that was very Christian. You had to do everything right, otherwise you'll go to hell. And I was a big troublemaker as a child, so I was punished a lot. As soon as I was 6 years old, I had to start working along with the other children, where I would be picking up leaves, picking coffee, picking fruit. They sold a lot of coffee and sold a lot of functions. But as children, we were the work behind all of it. And as a reward, we would get juice or popcorn, and it was just work, work, work. And when the girls, we got older, then it would start becoming cleaning instead of physical work. Instead of working with plants, then it would be cleaning, washing windows, while the boys, they did more physical things. There was a lot of punishment. If you didn't do something well enough, then you would get hit. You had to sit in a corner for many hours where you just have to stare at a white wall. And now I found out that I have ADHD, so I understand why it was so difficult for me as a child, just sitting and staring into a wall. And a lot of the time, it wasn't the punishment that was the worst, it was the sitting and waiting. Every house had a hiding stick, which they used to punish the children, and some parents did it harder than other parents. We had a school in the place where you started, a primary school where you started as a 6-year-old, and then they had a high school, but that was also for people outside of the farm. The kids who were troublemakers, they were sent there, and it was a really toxic environment. A lot of bullying, and that's why I started to get into a very deep depression. My brother, he had a really hard time too, because he was also a troublemaker, where he was accused of a lot of things and was punished a lot, just hit for hours and hours. And our household was very unstable because the leaders, they were trying to create, separate families. There was an old man and a woman, David and Sarah. They were the ones running the whole place. We really looked up to them. We thought they were the chosen ones that had a good belief, that were like closely connected to God. So also as children, most of our time went as trying to impress them and make sure they aren't angry at us. And they had a child, a son. He was a horrible, horrible man. He would go drive around on a motorbike and pretend like he's going to drive us down, and he would hold our heads under to try to show us that he has control. There were a lot of meetings they had to go to, praise and worship meetings, and they also had different working rules they had to follow. The leaders made most of the rules, but they used some under leaders, some people they decided should do the dirty work to enforce the rules. There was a hierarchy where there were leaders, lower leaders, and as children we were the last in the hierarchy. We are seen as nothing, and every time we saw an adult, you have to say hello and their name, and you'd get punished if you said hi instead of hello. And if you didn't say the name, if you looked wrongly, if you didn't clean enough, if you didn't work hard enough, if they were in a bad mood, that meant the punishment was bad. So much of those years it went on about trying to be perfect, but no matter what you did, it wasn't good enough. There'd always be someone who didn't like something you did, and then you get punished. It was just punishment. And in our household, we had a very unstable household. My mom, she was also very unstable. So it wasn't a safe space to be there. In the school, I was bullied, and in the house, I was punished. And so I didn't really have a safe space at all. Also because I was one of the children who were the naughtiest. It really got into my mind that I'm a troublemaker and I'm rebellious. And the thing is, there weren't so many people who were questioning the way it was done because they were really good at manipulating people. The way the cult started was with very vulnerable people. So they targeted people who were addicts and had trauma, promising them a life where they can become a better Christian and become a better person and get a purpose in life. And then it just grew and grew. And yeah, those people who did question the cult, they were sent away. They were kicked out. And we were told that it was because they were sinful, and we believed that as children. We believed it was because they were horrible people and bad people. And we believed that this was the only right place. Everywhere else was wrong. And this was the only right place. But I remember as a child, I asked my mother, what if I want to get a different job? Because the only jobs you could get, being a teacher, working in the nurseries, working with children, working with clowns, and I knew that I wanted to do something more with my life. But I was told that that's what there is, and I should be grateful that that's the opportunity I get. A lot of the things we had, a lot of times we are told to be grateful, try to appreciate that you have a bed, and pray every day. Thank God that I have a bed. Thank God I have food. It didn't really represent how we felt inside. I didn't feel grateful. Also because so much of my time was based on fear and never knowing what's going to happen next. One thing I am grateful for is that there wasn't any sexual abuse as far as I know, and nothing with me. And that's something I'm very grateful for. I think I was about 16 when they found out that it was a cult, and that's when they started researching where the leaders actually were, and they found out they weren't on a mission to spread the gospel. They were actually on a very expensive cruise trip. So all the money we had made from working for so many years, they were using to travel around the world, build a house in America. I wasn't told right away that it was a cult, but I could see that something was happening because everyone was acting very strange and people were whispering in corners. And so I said to one of my friends, what's going on? I can see that something's happening. Please tell me what's going on. And she wouldn't tell me. And later that evening, we were babysitting. I carried on pushing, saying, please tell me what's going on. And then she told me, someone has been stealing from the farm. So I started listing names, and she just carried on saying, no, no, no. And the last people remaining were the leaders. And I was thinking, no way it could be them. It's like I couldn't even think the thought, but I could just see on her face, it is them. So I said it. I asked her, is it David and Sarah? But if they wouldn't do that, and she just nodded. And I felt so confused in my head. It just carried on switching from, no, it can't be them. It is them. It can't be them. It is them. There's like two sides that are fighting against each other. And I just started crying. I didn't even need to be told it was a cult. Just the fact that to find out that they stole it, my mind was blown because we really worshipped them. We saw them as holy. And later that evening, I talked to my parents and they told me that, yeah, this is a cult. I didn't know what a cult was because we weren't allowed to have phones and weren't allowed to see so much TV, but they explained it to me. That was the first time I'd seen my dad cry. It was a really, really heartbreaking night. Everything felt meaningless and I didn't feel anything anymore. I was at a huge existential crisis. There's nothing mattered anymore. Everything I thought was true wasn't. And now when I think about cults, I mean, everything was right after the book with the child labor the leaders who are using the money, brainwashing people, but it still feels very, very unreal. And nothing has happened after it, because the leaders, when they found out that we knew that was a cult, they fled. They left for Australia. And yeah, there hasn't been any court cases, hasn't been anything. Like nothing's happened. And that breaks my heart, because me and my brother, we are living with the consequences. I have very, very bad PTSD. He has PTSD. We're living from the consequences of some greedy people. I just felt like I can't do this anymore. So I chose to run away from the cult, because there was a hole in the fence. There was a fence surrounding the whole cult. So I decided I'm going to walk away. I'm going to get out of here. And it was a horrible, horrible experience, because I was just walking and walking. It was dangerous walking alone as a girl, and I was scared that they were going to come after me. So I walked to the neighboring farm, and I just spent time with the old man there, who, he gave me tea and tried to comfort me. And then I found out that he had called the cult, because apparently he knew them. So my dad was on his way to come and fetch me, and I was terrified. Thought, I'm going to die now. They're going to kill me when I get back, because I've done the worst thing you should ever do. And my dad came, and I asked him, are you angry at me? And he said, no, I'm just sad that you ran away. And I felt so relieved. I was so happy that he was just happy to see me. And when I went back, the principal of the school and my uncle, who was a part of the leader hierarchy, they came and told my dad that I should get punished. So I had to get hit, and I got a punishment where I had to clean every Friday and for the next 6 months, and just alone in a kitchen and clean and not play piano, nothing. So that was a hard time. And I have a different memory where we were playing with sticks as children, and that was not allowed. We weren't allowed to play with sticks. And because I was the oldest, I was 12, I think. Because I was the oldest, I had to take responsibility for it. So it first started with, I had to wash all the school windows. And the teacher told me that later that night, instead of going to the pizza night that was planned, I had to come to the school at the evening. And I asked her what's going to happen, and she said, you'll find out. So I was cleaning for hours, and I felt sick, because I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I don't know what was going to happen. And I began imagining the worst thing, thinking the leaders are going to be there. I'm going to get punished for hours and hours. So while I was washing the windows, I decided the window washer was this purple, very spray thing, because I didn't realize it was a suicide attempt, but I just thought, I'm too scared to come to the school in the evening, and my body just couldn't, because I was exhausted of just getting punished, and never knowing how bad is it going to be this time, how hard are they going to hit, who's going to be there. So I decided to the window washer. Nothing happened. The only thing that happened was I vomited. So my dad said I still had to go. And I just felt sick. I was shaking, but I went. And it wasn't as bad as I thought, because there weren't any leaders there that day to punish. And that's the thing, the punishments, you weren't told what the punishment was going to be. You would sit in a corner, wait for either your parents to come, or the leader to come, or your uncle who was a leader under the leaders. You would sit and wait in a corner, wait for them to come. Then you would find out, is it going to be a hiding, or is it going to be physical work? And that place of doubt was a really horrible place to be in, because I just wanted it to be over. If I was going to get hit, I wanted to be right away and as fast as possible. I didn't have to sit and wait and wait. The waiting position was horrible. And sometimes I fought back, like with that hiding stick was like this wide. I would fight back where sometimes I would grab it and try to run away, but that just ended up in me getting hit even more, because sometimes I could feel my body just couldn't. Sometimes I could handle it, but sometimes my body just couldn't stand being hit anymore. After leaders left, many different families moved out of the place and moved to some other part in South Africa. There were quite a few who stayed, where we were trying to make a new life without the rules, where the children didn't have to work, you weren't punished, there was no more hiding. Me and my brother, we started in a new school. The children in the farm, we started in a new school and in a new church, where we're trying to find a life that was a bit more normalized and trying to slowly find our way in a new reality. And then we went to Denmark on vacation, and that was the first vacation me and my brother had ever been on that was outside of South Africa, because the leaders, they had 2 places in South Africa that you were allowed to go on vacation to, and it was them who decided you may go on vacation, you may not, and if the children may come with or not. So we were very overwhelmed when we went to Denmark for the first time. And it's because my dad is half Danish, half Irish, and my mom is South African. So we went on vacation to Denmark, and it was a really lovely time. And when we got back, we were told that we can move to Denmark. And I was just happy because I wanted to get away. I wanted to get away from everything in South Africa. So the thought of moving to a new country, starting a new life. On the farm, they made a new leader group where those new leaders, they helped divide the money between the different families. So we got financial help to move to Denmark. I found out that the self-image I have of I am disgusting, wrong, I am sinful, that it's not my truth. It's their truth that they put on me and made me believe from a very young age that there's something wrong with me, that I'm a bad person, I'm a sinful person, I'm disgusting, And I've been working on to try to change that picture of myself and also try to change the fear I have of doing something wrong and the fear of coming in hell. Because that's something that really has followed me. The fear that I'm going to hell. It's been put in my head at a really young age. Every time it just pops into my head and says, you're going to hell. And that's not something you should ever tell a child. It's a huge fear they put in us. We're going to be burned forever. If you think of the wrong thought, you're going to hell. You're going to be burned forever. And that's made me not trust Christianity anymore, because it's made me lose trust in everything, because having your whole world exploding and finding out everything you believed in was a lie. It's made me lose trust in everything. Also in reality, sometimes I think what's real, what's not real. And the worst part of it for me is the fact that they found black magic things inside of the leader's house. So that means that the leaders did not believe in what they were telling us. I think the most challenging thing for me now is practicing acceptance, because I won't be able to get justice for what happened. The leaders won't take responsibility and they won't get punished for what they did. So I think accepting that there's not going to be any fairness in this, that it has happened and there are no consequences for the leaders. It's a really hard thing to accept and very painful, because as a child, you learn that it's a fair world with happy endings, and becoming an adult and seeing there's no happy ending. There are no happy endings in this situation. Only the happy ending I made myself. I would say to people who are in the same situation or who feel like they can connect with some of the things I've said, I would say to them, it does get better. The first step is getting out. And the fear that gets put inside of you in regards to coming to hell, it's a painful, painful fear and a very existential one. And I don't believe it's true. I believe we all have good hearts. And yeah, I believe if you have a good heart, that's all that matters. And if someone tells you differently, it's control. And they should not have the power over you. You decide what do you believe in, and you decide what are you content with, because it's a painful life living under other people's expectations, and it's not fair for all those other people who have been in cults. It's not fair. It's not a fair situation. It's a horrible situation, and no one except for them who have been in it understands how shocking it is and how painful it is finding out that that's what happened. So for all those who have been in one, are in one, or getting out of one, I understand how painful it is, and you're not alone.